So we met on the football field. I'm pretty sure you remember this against Forest Hill, and they hit you, and you went straight up, and then they hit you again, and you went like sideways like a helicopter. And I was like, oh, wow, because I just handed you the ball off so I could see it, but then you got up, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you got off the field, like we didn't carry off the field, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, so I remember that. Like, that's one of the first things I remember about you, John. It's like, just like, that's tough, dude. People will tell you about their personal, intimate lives before they'll tell you about their money. They'll tell you about their health before they'll tell you about their money.
All right, family. Well, welcome back to the Everyday Warrior podcast, where we're going to highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things every single day. Now, today's guest is more than just a professional. He's my brother. Marcus Sturdivant and I grew up together as teammates on the football field, basketball court. We ran track together. We competed together. We pushed each other really hard, and we learned lessons that still shape us to today. Now, Mark is actually taking the same discipline, and he's working with everyday people and moving this into the financial security realm, teaching us generational wealth, how to be financially secure. And this conversation today is going to be about our friendship. It'll be about our purpose, the discipline we've learned, and the power of financial literacy. My brother, Marcus Sturdivant.
Hey, what's up, John? Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me on, John.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Now, it's a pleasure to have you, but I want you to do me a favor. Take us back to our high school days. What is something that you remember most about those days and that period in our lives?
You know something I do remember. You see how we're laughing. One thing I definitely remember is like how much fun we had. Even though like, so we'll go deeper into like our individual backgrounds because they're kind of similar. But I remember how much fun we had. We had a lot of fun. Like not even realizing, I guess, what we didn't know. I definitely remember the first time I met you. I don't know if you remember the first time you met me. You remember the first time you met me?
Man, I try to run that back with everybody. Like, what was I doing? Where was I when I first met this person, right? And I think we hung together so much, man, I can't really remember.
All right. I do though. So we met on the football field. You came in the middle of the school year. Well, I guess it was the beginning. And you came out there to play football. I remember we were playing Forest Hills, East Union. It was our freshman year. It was like my first game starting a quarterback and you were running back, which is ironic because you ended up being the quarterback. But that's a whole other story when we got to varsity. Like the next year, I never saw that one coming. But anyway, and then I handed you the ball. I'm pretty sure you remember this against Forest Hill, and they hit you, and you went straight up, and then they hit you again, and you went like sideways like a helicopter. And I was like, oh, wow, because I just handed you the ball off so I could see it, but then you got up, and I was like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you got off the field, like we didn't carry off the field, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, so I remember that. Like, that's one of the first things I remember about you, John. It's like, just like, that's tough, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's tough. So I do remember that. And you remember that. Maybe you don't.
Because I actually tore a ligament in my knee that game.
Right?
And that taught me a lot about, protecting myself as a back and all the other good stuff that goes along with making sure that you're a good, player in general. So yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. I tell my son about that game, but I didn't realize that was, our first time meeting. But yeah, that's a fond memory, and I remember that definitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, we met a couple of days before that in practice because you came to practice and you just started playing. Like you just started, but so it was like, but yeah, that was like the first thing that like stuck. Then we played basketball together,
Yeah.
and then junior, senior, we ran track. But I do remember like when you came. Another thing I remember like is how close knit your whole crew was. That was always cool. Always reminded me of
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, man, we absolutely had a ball in school. That's one thing that I can say. We had so much fun when we were in school. Like school was fun. You know what I mean? We were great kids. We did what we needed to do off the field. We had to, but we had a really, really good time. But tell me, how did the sports help shape your mindset and your work ethic today for you?
Yeah, man, exactly. So how did sports help with my mindset set and work ethic? So, a little bit about me. I came from divorced parents back in the 80s. That was a whole big thing. But my mom pretty much raised me as a single mom. My stepdad, he stepped in, but that was later on. So, high school, when I turned 14, I got a job at Winn-Dixie, for anyone who remembers Winn-Dixie. And then when I turned 16, you got me a job at Fuddruckers because your dad, rest in peace, was driving for Cisco. He got you a job. You came and you like, man, Stern, because minimum wage and Stern, that's my nickname. And minimum wage was like 4.25 back then. I think Fuddruckers was paying like $6. We were like, oh, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Well, you had to be
$6.
16. I just turned 16, but I remember, and I was thinking about this. Like, you talk about work ethic. I remember getting up, going to school, going to practice, then going to Fuddruckers and working. You know, and so like going to bed at like they would close at 10, so like 11 o'clock at night, and then getting up and doing it all over
All
again.
over again. Yeah.
And on the weekends working doubles. So I don't. You gonna make me sound like an old man when I say I don't quite understand what some of these people are complaining about this younger generation.
Hey, we sound just like our dads and our uncles did when we were younger, man. I'll tell you that right now. We sound just like them.
Yeah. Hopefully we're as cool as they are.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Now, and I remember that too, because I remember getting, I think it was me, it was you, it was Carlos. Mike Jennings even worked there for a spell, didn't he? Didn't he come for a second?
I don't know if Mike worked at Fuddruckers. I know Jeremy did.
Waldrop? Yeah, so you know how it is. We was making sure, I wanted to make sure we shared the wealth. All of us was gonna eat. Now we got to do that, man. And you actually went on to do some really good things with Fuddruckers, man, and build that company up, man. And that was a beautiful thing. Now, during that course of time, did you have any specific mentors or role models that influenced you? Outside of us, because we really push one another. When you say iron sharpens iron, we really push one another, especially on the football field, on the basketball court, always competing. But did you have any other role models that kind of guided you? I know you mentioned that parents were divorced and things like that. So having a male figure, having anybody in your life that helps you through that point in time as a kid and then to a young adult, did you have anyone that was close to you like that?
Yeah, man. So Pops wasn't really around. Both my grandpas passed away when I was fairly young. I feel like I'm the type of guy who should probably give my mom a Father's Day card. You know what I mean? Like type thing. Cause like even looking back now, like my mom, you met my mom. She's quiet. She's real soft spoken, but she did a lot. My mom's a role model. My mom's like a hero to me, man. Like looking back now, especially, I don't think I appreciated it when I was growing up, but like looking back now, like the things she's done as I'm a parent, sitting back and just thinking like I'm her age at some of this point in time and think about like what we did, the things they had to do. But you met my uncles. Like my uncles had big influences on me. Like the law, shout out to the law Hayward Road. Like my uncles had really big influences on me. And I have another uncle who actually, Uncle Donnell, you never met him. He actually sent me a letter one time. I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but it was really touching. It was really motivating. Like there've been different people especially back then. I think what drove me back then was more of like it was a self type thing, something inside me that made me just like want to push harder. And y'all guys, like you said, iron sharpens iron. So I don't think people realize like the class of athlete we really had at Sun Valley at that time. Like we had you guys on the track. Like I ran hurdles because you dudes were too fast in the sprints. Like we had world class sprints. I was like, we went out the track, we ran the sprints. I was like, man, I'm back here like seventh, eighth. Like I ain't about to try to do right. Let me go run hurdles. Like what I'm saying, I can do that. No one else is doing hurdles. What I'm saying, because you remember we started track. I was throwing shot put, discus, long jump, all this stuff. Sailed into the hurdles. The hurdles kind of became what I did, but like our track team was world class. And they can go check the records. Like y'all were literally world class in the 4x1. We won all the meetings. So like all the meets. So we won all the conference stuff. We did the same thing in basketball. We would win everything. So it's just like, and then football, we were competitive. We were the first team to go to the playoffs in 25, 26 years for our school.
Right. Yeah. 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 It was a while.
Yeah. So it's just like, so some of those coaches definitely showed me some things for sure. Even if they didn't realize, it showed me things like Coach Toxie. Rest in
Yeah.
peace, Coach Toxie.
Rest in peace.
Toxie was hard on me, but Toxie definitely showed me a lot of things. He showed me basketball in a way that a lot of people I don't think understand. There was a middle school coach in football named Bill Melton. Coach Melton really showed me a lot. He showed me love. He poured into me. He showed me things I see now, like when I'm coaching these kids. You mentioned like coaching my son's team. It's like the little things I want to do for them that these
Hmm.
other coaches don't do. Like that sticks. Like I'm telling these kids, I'm telling their parents, I'm like, this stuff, these kids are going to remember this stuff for like the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So how about you, John? Like
So
who
for me,
really stuck out
man,
for you?
I had a lot of people around me but my dad, my martial arts instructor, my mom and dad were military anyway, so they were kind of they ran a tight ship as it was. But I had cousins that, well, I'm from Charlotte, so when I moved to Indian Trail and Stallings, it was a little bit different for me when I got down there. But I had cousins that I really just like you. we all grew up like we didn't grow up like cousins. We grew up in the same house, so we were like brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like we were cousins. Like you couldn't tell us that. We didn't realize we were cousins until we were grown. For real. You know what I mean? Because we lived together. But I had those folks around me. But more than anything, like I said, it for my mom and my dad, being military, a lot of what we did was structured. I had cousins that were, going off. I had an uncle that actually played in the NFL for a stint. I always stayed up under him for a while because that's where I wanted to go. I just figured I was going there. So I listened to him and just to stay on the straight and narrow. And I came from a spot in Charlotte, man. The side of town I grew up on was not the best place to grow up. However, that side of town fostered some of the best athletes that come out of Charlotte because I grew up on the west side, right behind West Charlotte High School. So even as a kid, we grew that's all we did. All we knew was competition from day one, right? And you had a lot of those guys that were going off and going to college and playing sports and different things like that. Jeff McGinnis, he played for Carolina basketball. He was at the rec center like every day watching him play and him passing me the ball and letting me shoot, things like that. And all those guys who really came up. So I really stayed close to them and some of the coaches as well, really instilled a whole lot into me. Coach Toxie definitely instilled a lot into us. But for me, man, it was, I had a lot of role models around the house, man, and close knit to me that kept me on the straight and narrow. And I kind of knew early on what I wanted to do. I had a plan A and a plan B early. And, so we're here today, man. So a lot of those people. But you guys really, you, Oates, all of y'all, everybody, man, I took a lot from everyone, right? And your demeanor, and how you were not ever afraid to just be yourself. You the only person that I know that was always himself. I don't care where we went, what we did. Marcus Sturdivant was going to be Marcus Sturdivant, and we both laughing hard about that because we really grew up together. That's my guy, and I know we know each other. So, but yeah, man, I took a lot from you guys because I was a little standoffish for a while because I just didn't know people. And looking at you, how you interact with everyone was an eye opener to me. I'm like, look, you don't have to be ashamed of who you are and what you do. And I realized that dealing with you and seeing how you operate. So you guys were also very motivational for me too, man.
Man, thanks. I didn't even know all that you saw those things. I guess I am the same crazy person all the time.
Man,
It's just
hey,
just try to
listen, people just don't know that guy, and that's why I'm saying that's the reason why you are where you are, man. I'll be honest with you, dude, and that's not something that's ever changed about you. So where you are, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But the journey to get there is what we want to kind of peel the onion back on. So, and what inspired you now to become a financial advisor?
Oh yeah, man. So what inspired me now to become a financial advisor? So, so once again, we keep going back to school. Like even back in high school, we were in business clubs together. You remember we went to Greensboro for the business club, DECA. That's the name of the business club. So I've always had an interest in business, man. Just like business, different type of small business. Went to while you were at JCSU, John C. Smith. I was at Livingstone playing football, like while you were playing football. So did that for a little bit of time. Came back down here. That's when the Fuddruckers thing picked back up, started working at Fuddruckers. Became a general manager eventually at Fuddruckers. Moved down to South Carolina. Met my wife, did the thing with the wife, got married, started the family. Before that, had a kid. So I have an older son, had a kid in between all that. Did whatever dumb kids do in their 20s. Did a lot of that dumb stuff. But anyway, moved through that, like you said, perseverance, pushed through all these things. I learned so many lessons at a young age, I feel like. I feel like I did all my crazy stuff when I was young. So now I'm like an old man, but just like pressing through all these things,
Uh-huh.
you get the Fuddruckers, and eventually, so they closed Fuddruckers, and the Fuddruckers I worked at in Matthews, North Carolina, they closed that in 2016, maybe. Now I went and worked with some guys from Sun Valley. I don't know if you remember John Morgan, Eric Helms, and Sean Ham, but they all went to Sun Valley. John started a company called Queen Charlotte's Pimento Cheese. I don't know if you've heard of that. But that's a small business. So we were in there, we were grinding, man, like going out, setting up tables, doing samples, doing all kinds of stuff. So I'm like ingrained in small business. Like when it was with Fuddruckers, Jay and Leanne, they would like take us and show us the P&L all the way down to the last penny. We learned how to read those things. They taught us so much. One of their goals was that, but even if you don't stay with us, by the time you leave here, we want you to be able to go run your own business. That's pretty deep, That's pretty, what I'm saying? And then they had the connections with like, rest in peace or whatever you want to say about him, Jerry Richardson, they had connections with him. So like I met people through them that like, and then Dion, he played. Also, I met people who, in general, quote unquote, most people might be intimidated by money wise or whatever. But there was a guy in Flutter because he came in there one time. And it was like after I talked to Jerry Richardson, I was like, "Oh man, it's Jerry Richardson." The guy was just like, "Yeah, man, but you know, he's just a man just like you and me." It was like, click, right, click, click. You know, yeah, actually, you know, it is the same. Deeper into my self faith, whatever it is, as you get older. The time came where it was time for me and Queen Charlotte to go our separate ways. Queen Charlotte, by the way, is doing great. By the time I left there, they were in like half the country. Licks, Harris Teeter, Food Line. You can find it. Queen Charlotte's pimento cheese. It's
Nice.
everywhere. Yeah, and we started like sampling at Little like Reed's Fine Food Shop. I don't know if you heard of that in Charlotte, about
Mhm.
in South Park, but places like that.
Yeah.
So little couture bars and places like that. But then during this time, I went back to school, finished going to school, got my MBA. Then I got in financial advisory, man. Start with a firm that's, you know, it's the classic. You're a financial service, so like, you know this stuff when you're like, you know, it was the classic dollar smile, sale, sale, sale type stuff. That's not really me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's not really, I don't really want to, I can. Like, I've learned the techniques and that stuff really works, but that's not really me. Then my sister-in-law, she got sick, so I need to be home more from that place. Came home and you know, we're grown now. So I was at a point where it's like, you know, I can keep doing this like this. I can make the shift and bet on myself. I'm always going to bet on myself.
There you
I'm
go.
going to double down and bet on myself. Right. So I bet on myself, start my own firm last year, and man, it's been going well. The firm's
Nice.
going well. It's growing as well as any other firm at this same stage, probably ahead of most firms at this stage. And then just with the financial literacy, just the tool, you know, that's the conversation we didn't have growing up at my kitchen table. I don't know about y'all. Not real deep financial literacy. And it's nothing to blame on anyone
Mhm.
or anything. It's just they didn't know to have these conversations. So I want to make sure that people around me know these things. My children know these things. We have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about my son. He's 24, about to be 25. He's got his account set up, you know, invested. You know, I go in there and do that for him. And he like, Dad, you know, once you see it, Dad, this stuff works. Yeah. You want to invest then. So unfortunately, without the financial literacy part, what you don't know, you always fear. And if you're confused by something, the answer is always going to be no.
There you go.
A lot of people who have never talked about money, seen money, they don't understand money. And if they do happen to get money, they just blow right through the money. We've seen it. You've seen it. I've seen it. You know what I mean? Like you said, you grew up on the west side of Charlotte, then you moved down to Spring Hill. I grew up on Haywood Road. You know what I mean? Like the only differences between those places were the location. But they're all the communities are the same. And they're like this for communities all across this country.
Mhm.
Right. It's not just like where we grew up down here in North Carolina. It's like that. That's not the only place. So this thing, I just feel like financial literacy and the lack of it is an epidemic disease, and I have the cure, right? And it's just like I want to share that cure with people. And then obviously having the actual like technical expertise, quote unquote, air quotes for anyone who might be listening. I did air quotes. That only strengthens it. But I want to share this message with people. And I appreciate you for having me on to talk about financial literacy. As you can see, I get a little excited about that.
And I love it, brother. I absolutely love it. I want folks because see, a lot of folks with the podcast and things like that, go after, the folks who are already, there, right? And I want to make sure that I highlight folks that are doing it, that are boots on the ground, that are getting it right now. And I want to give you your flowers today, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not an easy task, most of the time. And I'm not saying that anyone that's here got there by happenstance. I know they did a grind as well, but I didn't have my podcast then. I got it now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to make sure I highlight those who I know and make sure that I give you your flowers. But let me ask you this question. Why do you think so many families avoid talking about finances?
First of all, I think families avoid talking about finance because they really just don't understand what they're saying about it. I don't know if you remember that commercial. There was a commercial where there was a girl and her dad, and she asked her dad some financial question. He said, this can't, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like the camel with the biggest hump has the most water. That was his response. And she was just like, he's like, so that's like people might not understand you. And as a parent, you don't want to have a conversation with your child about something that you can't explain. These kids are coming and asking you questions that you can't explain, so they might not even bring it up, right? And then money in general is a very, very intimate subject. People will tell you about their personal, intimate lives before they'll tell you about their money. They'll tell you about their health before they'll tell you about their money. I've sat down with clients before, prospects, clients, and we're having conversations. It'll be a husband and wife. It usually works better when you got the husband and wife together, right? Or whatever significant other who you are financially connected with in this conversation. But we'll have a conversation and we'll say, okay, so what does retirement look like for you, or what do you want to see in 5 years? And this is literally one spouse may say, I want to retire and live at the beach. The other one will say, I want to retire and live in the mountains. They never knew that about each other, right? So that right there just opens up a whole, and you know what I do? I sit back. I sit back and give them space. You know what I'm saying? Because part of what I do with financial advising is I sit back and let people talk, because they don't have these conversations. So if you're not having these conversations at home, and you don't know, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, you're not going to have it with your kids. You're not going to have it with anyone else. And then if you just feel like you don't understand it or you're confused by it, because people in our industry, they want to make it sound, all this legalese, all this vernacular, all this, whatever. They want to make it sound so verbose when they're speaking. And it's just like, nope, save more than you spend
Mm.
and figure out something to invest in that's going to outpace inflation at the basics, right? Let's start with that as the basics. That's after you got your emergency fund. Don't come to me talking about you want to invest in the stock market or you want to invest in crypto till you got your emergency fund set up, right? You got your debt. We're taking care of your debt. And then we can start talking about other stuff. But you got to go in the process. You can't get out of the order. You got to stick to the script. So if parents, and I'm still on your question, right? And so if parents don't know, or even if kids don't know to ask these questions, you just see a cycle continuously repeating itself. And like you said, I'm sorry for going long. You mentioned how we grew up, and you said like, and that is true. Like one thing that I do feel like changed my perspective was when I was in like elementary school. So growing up on Haywood Road, there was just us, me and my cousins. But for those who don't know, my mom has 9 brothers and sisters. My dad has 9 brothers and sisters. So I have a lot of cousins. So it was just us growing up, pretty much our whole community. So going to a mixed school, Shiloh Elementary School back then, was eye-opening. And I had a friend. His name was Adam. I would go to his house. It was culturally integrated. I would see things I never seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, hear conversations. They weren't necessarily having those financial literacy conversations. But then when I got to high school or middle school, I know you remember Justin Stice. He's now Justin iPhone. And I went to Justin's house. And that's when I realized things were different. Because I went to his house from my house, and I saw his house, and I was like, like this house is different. Not that I felt bad or I felt anything different. I was still me, but I just knew like things were different. And now I would hear the conversation his dad was having, like with his mom or with him. I'm investing in this and blah, 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 because I'm going to ask, like, how did y'all establish this? He's like, oh, well, my dad, let me think how he did. My dad bought the land from someone, subdivided the plots, sold them plots, and then people came in and built them. And we also bought this house right here. We got this plot for free when we did it. You know what I mean? Like with these $1 million homes in the middle of Wayington, North Carolina in the 90s.
And shout out to Justin Stice. That was a crazy guy.
Yeah. He's an iPhone
I-
now. But yes.
Shout out. Yeah, man. Well, hey, you did. I'm glad you said that, because I was just about to ask you. I mean, you touched on it a little bit, about the fundamental steps that someone needs to take to start building financial stability. And you touched on just a few of those things, making sure our debt is down, making sure that we have the emergency fund, right? Making sure that, we have some of those checks and balances in place. So I appreciate you, touching on those things. Now, I want to move just a little bit and kind of expound at the same time, because I often say, man, that financial literacy is in itself a form of self protection. Now, what does that mean to you? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, how many people do you know that are constantly, or one of the biggest reasons for divorce or consternation in a relationship are finance? People don't understand. People are spending money. People like money causes a lot of problems. More money, more problems. I was talking with Johanse Harrison, who's actually from the West Side. I don't know if you know Johanse, because he grew up right there where you grew up in Charlotte on like Beatty.
I don't know him personally, because I'll be honest with you, man. My wife grew up 2 blocks over from me, and I didn't know her either. And I
It's
was
crazy.
very active in the neighborhood, right? So it really depends, man. Back then, you could, you're in the same place, you're just passing one another, right? Depending upon how old you was. Because I was always at the rec center. So it depends on whatever. But yeah, so I might know him if I get a chance to talk to him. Maybe something will refresh my memory. Maybe I know a brother or sister or cousin or something like that, but I don't know that him personally.
You need to have Johanse on. He'll come talk to you. His money script's amazing. Like he's big on financial literacy as well. So like I was saying with Johanse, and then we were just talking about the intersection with financial literacy and the lack thereof with people who in our neighborhood, in our wherever, and it's not just our neighborhood. It's not just one race that suffers from this. Like, I don't want people to think it's just one race. It's more like demographics of people. Once you reach certain levels of income or you're not certain levels of income, then you see people struggling with financial literacy. They reach a level of financial literacy. And I'm starting to see this now, like people we know, people who are growing up and they're reaching things, and they feel like an imposter syndrome. Like they can't believe that they're earning this type of money or they don't deserve it. It's like, dude, you're smart. You know what I mean? Like you worked hard to get these things. So we have these biases, you know what I'm saying, that are personally in our own heads that set us back, push us back from whatever we're trying to accomplish. I want to take one step back with the basics. Make sure another thing that people need to do with the basics is probably one of the first things is look at a budget. Pull everything you got, pull it out and set it down and look at it for your spending expenses in the month. Because that's one of the biggest things I see when I sit down with clients as well. We'll go through our process, we'll get to the stats part or whatever, so what's the income for the month? What are your expenses for the month? The expenses for the month are always too low, usually way too low. So you gotta sit back and see what you're spending. You gotta. My definition of financial literacy is the ability to evaluate, digest, and then use the information, right? Make an informed decision. So digest, evaluate, informed decision, or evaluate, digest, informed decision, right? Either way it goes. Those are the things you gotta be able to do. And then these barriers that we see that are scaring people that they're so afraid of, they come down. People aren't afraid anymore of what they quote unquote don't understand. And then they understand how powerful money is. But the biases that we see are I can see why people feel that way. There have been a lot of scams in the world. There have been a lot of scams,
Mhm.
people who you think are your family. Well, they are your family, but people, your family, your friends, it's usually people closest to you who scam you. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, you're fine. Absolutely fine, brother. Absolutely fine.
And I don't even know if I answered your question.
Well, you did, but the question was just, how do what is your thought process on, financial literacy being a form of self-protection, right? And
Yes.
you spoke on those things, man, and being able to make sure that you're putting the proper, precautions in place, looking at that budget, making sure because at the end of the day, you need to spend less than you earn, man, if you want to, if you want to keep some of it, right? So that's definitely a good point that you made there. Now, I want to kind of drive home too, man, what the importance of proper financial planning and how, like, someone that, like you said, that may have that imposter syndrome, or you may have a person, right out of college who doesn't feel like they have it. Where can they start? How does proper financial planning help there, reducing stress for the future, man? Because I believe if you attack it early, then you make a place for yourself a little later on where you can kind of sit back and relax a little bit, right? So what do you think? How does proper financial planning, and I'm talking about from inception, like how does that reduce your stress and that's going to create the confidence that you need to get out of that mindset that I don't deserve it, right? If you do it right now, you begin planning now, you can start to see the fruit. So I'll let you expound on that.
Yeah, and it's like you said, well, like I said before too, it's like so knowing, we grew up GI Joe, knowing is half the battle. But I like to think about it like this. So when you were talking about how it's going to be hard at the beginning, there's a hill, right? You're going up the hill, your hill of life. At the beginning of the hill, you're pushing a big boulder up this hill. You're getting started. Maybe you just got out of college, you got college debt, or maybe you didn't go to college. Maybe you just have some debt because they send people credit cards when they're 18. So maybe you've established some debt. You're pushing this big boulder up the hill, but eventually you start somehow to save a little bit. You start to gain, and you know what I'm saying? But so you're getting closer to the top of the hill. You've got your financial plan in place now. So the beginning, when you push at the beginning, is before you even get your financial plan. As you start putting your pieces of financial plan together, right? So whatever it may be, you have your investments, your cash flow management, your protections like life insurance, those type of things. So as you put in your financial plan together, that boulder actually is going to get a little bit easier to push. Even though the boulder is the same size and you're still pushing up the hill, you're getting stronger pushing that boulder up the hill, right? It's not as much to push it. It's not as much to push it. When you get to the top of that hill, which may be however many years you've been doing your financial plan, maybe you're at the top of the hill and now you started at 20 and now you're 40. You're at the top of the hill, you let that ball go. Maybe you got straddle on the ball, you just ride that ball back down the hill. So if you work at the beginning, it's going to be easier at the end. You're just going to ride that roll down at the end. Whereas it works the other way too. So if you have people who don't have a financial plan and they're earning at the beginning and they got that ball and they're just spinning, that ball starts at the top and it goes down. When they're young and they should be building muscles, now you're old, this ball's at the bottom and you got to try to push this ball back up that hill. And that's what you see people try to do. They try to push the ball back up the hill. You hear people too often say, "Oh, I don't think I have enough. I wish we would start earlier." And with enough time, anyone can retire. Anyone can do these things. You can have I feel like you can have whatever you want in life if you work hard enough for it and you focus on it enough and you're willing to make the sacrifices. Like, it won't be easy. Like, great things aren't easy.
There you
Like,
go.
you see people do great things, you see athletes do great things, and people think it's easy. And that's one of the things, like, with my children, with these little kids that I was coaching, like, they'll start doing this other stuff. I'm like, Don't do that. You see this guy doing this stuff, but you know why he does this stuff? Because he spent years just getting the fundamentals down. Boom, boom, boom. And he's only doing that stuff because that's the only thing he can do in that situation. He's not really doing it to show off. He's doing it because that's what he's got to do to score that basket, or that's what he's got to do to get that pass in there, or that's how he's got to jump to catch the ball. I mean, like, because these guys don't, once you reach a certain level, you realize you don't need all the extra movement. You want to be as efficient as possible in
Right.
whatever you're doing in sports, right? Like, if you're playing basketball, you don't want to stay out there unless you're SGA. You don't want to stay out there and dribble 25 times. You want to dribble 3 times, get to the hole, right?
Right.
If you're
Right.
playing football, half the plays done before a snap. You know what I'm saying? If I'm out wide at defensive back, I'm looking at how my receivers lining up. I'm looking in at the quarterback. If I'm at free safety, I'm looking at everything. I'm stepping back and looking at everything, right? This stuff is happening, looking at how they're lined up, where these people are placed. So this stuff is happening before the play starts. Because if the receiver's at the edge of the field, like, he can't go out, he can only go in, right? So that's half of what's going to happen. So you got that contained. It's just like, so the financial planning, pushing that rock, people thinking that they can't do it is frustrating, because you can, but you can't live a certain way at the beginning of your life and then just think that, like, now here I am, I'm just going to live off Social Security for the rest of my life. And I know people in my family, I don't know, I can't speak for your family, like that. They work their whole lives and they work all this time, and you see it, and you can't tell them anything because you didn't know anything. You were a kid, you didn't know any better. But now you see, and they struggle in their retirement, or they're supposed to be retirement. And it's frustrating, which is
Mm.
also part of the reason why I'm so driven with the financial literacy. I can tell you a trigger point with the financial, like what started another refocus for me. So my auntie died in 2015, and she was calling me Schoolboy. That was my nickname, Schoolboy. Like, you didn't even know that. My Aunt Chick. You
I
met Aunt Chick
didn't.
though, but you didn't even know that. She was calling me Schoolboy. So from like kindergarten through 8th grade, I never missed a day of school. I love going to school. I love learning, still to this day. So she called me Schoolboy. I was going to be a scientist. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a little kid. I just like stars and stuff. Then by the time she passed away, I hadn't finished school. You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't finished college. Kind of pushed me to get going started and just going into what I do, because she worked for a company for 30 years. She got sick, and then they just kind of, what they do to you. You know what I mean? They just kind of push you to the curb. You know what I'm saying? You get sick with terminal cancer, they push you to the curb, which is another thing. I think people who work like W-2 jobs, and don't get me wrong, I love people who work W-2 jobs, but W-2 jobs, in my opinion, are far more riskier than being an entrepreneur or
100%.
having multiple streams of income. Because if you lose that one stream of income, right?
Man, I didn't know that, man. Rest in peace to your auntie. And, she obviously someone who was pivotal for you growing up. So that's definitely someone that we can add to that group of individuals who were role models for you, schoolboy.
Absolutely. Oh, and inside of that, look, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but inside of that, like I said, that just like that fuel of fire. I sat down with some of my cousins. You can ask Darius. I don't know if you ever met my cousin Bo, but I sat down with some of my cousins around there, and I said, I want to help my family, but I don't really know how. But you know what I do know? And this is for these warriors out here listening. I know that I don't quite have all the tools that I need to do it now. So I know I need to get smarter. I know I need to learn. I need to learn a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always learned. You know what I'm saying? I've read even when I wasn't back in university, where I was reading all the time. I've always learned things, but I was like, I need to structure learning, blah, blah, blah. Because you remember I called you before I got my MBA. We spoke about it. We spoke about it because you already got yours. We spoke about it, and you were like, what are you looking to get out of it? It depends on this and that. But I got extremely focused, and I was like, I'm going to help my family. I don't know how I'm going to help them. I don't know how, but I know I'm going to help them. I'm going to figure out, but I know I need to learn more. And it's just like, now with the financial advice and financial literacy, that's how I can help my family. Like, for real. Like, change their lives.
There it
And
is.
we've seen it happen.
Hey man, that's it. That's what it's all about right there, brother. And I'm a firm believer that that's absolutely how you're gonna help your family, man. Absolutely. I want to kind of take a step back too, man. How do you feel? How important do you think life insurance and is going to be in your retirement planning and state estate preparation and things like that? Man, you can go on, man. Every time you say something, you drop a jewel. But and I don't mean to say that in lieu of your aunt passing, but what you're saying, hey, W-2 jobs, it's a bigger risk you feel. And when you battling terminal cancer, things like that, it kind of push you to the side. It's how you feel. How do you feel about making sure your life insurance, retire, and all those things are bundled within in your retirement plan and estate preparation? How do you feel about that?
You gotta have some life insurance or some type of way to cover whatever may happen to you. Like some people reach a level of income where they don't need life insurance, or they reach a certain point in life where they feel like they don't need life insurance because they can cover whatever expense they may leave to someone else. With life insurance, people also use life insurance for investments. Like they may say, I want to leave my kids $100,000 or my grandkids. I want to leave it tax free. I'll get this policy. They're the beneficiaries. So when I pass, it's theirs. Excuse me. In general, life insurance is definitely a tool that people need inside their plan, some type of protection. If you can't self-insure, you need to have life insurance of some sort to cover whatever you would have to take care of at bare minimum if you or whoever else you had to, or the person you were with, lost their lives. And my cousin, you saw my cousin, Darius is a single dad, right? Because Darius lost the mother of his child randomly in a car accident, right? Rest in peace to her. But like, people aren't prepared for this issue. People aren't thinking about this stuff. People our age aren't thinking about it. I'm literally doing life insurance reviews with some of my clients right now. That's one of the things we're doing. Like, I was literally sending out the emails and stuff yesterday. It's like, I don't even know if you knew to think of talking about this, but that also led to the conversation with my wife, right? You got to eat your own cooking. I'm telling her I sent this stuff out. She's like, oh, what about ours? You review ours? I was like, oh, well, yeah, so I had to review mine. Like, you got to make sure, you know, go back in there and check that. I'm going to review it deeper, as a matter of fact, than what's else, but you got to make sure these things are in place, because if something was to happen, you don't want to if something happens and you are here and you're not here, when people pass away, that's like one of the most stressful times in your lives. Having life insurance and not have to worry about the financial part of it is a big help. So insurance is good, but the problem with insurance and our industry in general is that people become salespeople. They want to be out here selling stuff to people, and they'll do anything to people. They want to say insurance is the be all end all. They want to say that investing in the stock market is the be all end all. Nope, nope. You need a little bit of this, you need a little bit of that, you need an entire portfolio. That's financial planning. You need stuff that's going to work when other stuff isn't working. What's going up and other stuff is going down, even inside of your equities or bonds. Maybe you need a little bit of private credit. Maybe you need an alternative asset, like, I don't know, maybe some gold or metal or something. I'm not saying this isn't personal financial advice for anyone listening, because every piece of financial advice should be personal. But then maybe once again, there's the life insurance. So let's just think about it like this. So different sets of life insurance, different ways you may need life insurance. So let's say you're 25 years old, you just had a kid, right? Maybe you need some insurance. Maybe you just need a term policy until your kid is, 18. So maybe you need a 20-year term policy. Maybe you don't need permanent life insurance. And the same could be said for someone who's like 50 and about to retire until they get like their benefits. And they're like, maybe I just need a 20-year term policy. Then the same 25-year-old could say, maybe I want to take this life insurance as a permanent policy, which is going to cost you way more. Right. So, and then they're looking at insurance as an investment. I think you can get better returns and things in insurance. I don't really use insurance as an investment for that way, but the same could be said as a person closer to their 50s, 60s, or 70. That permanent policy is going to cost a lot more. But
Right.
yeah, in general, you need protection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. So having something in place is absolutely better than nothing.
Well, you
Definitely.
can't drive your car down the car without you can't drive your car down the road without insurance. I mean, you can, but you're not supposed to.
Right, because you got a lot of people, man, who feel like, you get insurance to never have to use it, and then it's not beneficial. I see so many people, man. I've seen family members as well do the same thing, man. I've heard some of my family members tell me as a kid, you need to make sure you have a life insurance policy, all to, when it's time to put them to rest, they didn't have a policy. And I'm like, what happened with that, man? And I feel like that all ties back to consistent financial planning and having financial literacy, because a lot of folks start to look at these tools as just a simple bill, right? And if I can eliminate that
Mhm.
bill, I can make room for something else, right? And before you know it, they have to use it and then they don't have it, man. So what you're doing, and it absolutely starting with your family, is a beautiful thing, man, because I'm seeing it more and more in our households. Not saying that it doesn't happen anywhere else. I can only speak for where I've seen it and experienced it at, and it's a common thing around our coffee tables. X, Y, and Z not having insurance, GoFundMe accounts popping up on Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and just not having the having anything put away, not even a nest egg put away enough to bury them or take care of some of the final needs. But we're gonna shift gears here just a little bit because we can talk about those things forever and a day, man. Because I see your passion in it, and I know you got way more to give me right now. I can see it is on the tip of your tongue, but I'm gonna stop you right there. I want to ask you a couple other questions. Let's jump off really quick here. Now, this is the Everyday Warrior podcast, so I always like to make sure we have that type of mindset. What does being an everyday warrior actually mean to you?
Man, an everyday warrior, right? So every day, people ask me if I'm having a good day or whatever, and I tell them, and I mean this. It may sound flippant when I say it, but I mean it like so truly. Like, if I can wake up, put my feet on the ground, stand up, I'm good for the rest of the day. Like, I'm going to figure out the rest of the day because I know the day is going to be a struggle at certain times. I've had the everyday warrior struggles. I've had those moments. I had since I've opened this firm. Like, before I opened it, I had the stuff you seen in movies where you like sit in the car and you bang your steering wheel like you can't believe it. Like, I did that, and then I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I've done that. You know what I'm saying? Like, cried. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like I cried more a couple times here recently, like, than I had in the past 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, 20 years since just like the whole emotion, the whole firm. Like, but that's the thing. Like, sometimes being a warrior is the ability to not fight, physically fight. You have to figure out how to overcome these things in your mind because that's where most of it is. I'm big on like, and I don't want people to think I'm like, I don't know, crazy or whatever, but I'm big on manifestation. Like, I can see it and it happens. Like playing sports. I've seen the play in the game like the day before, like the night before. Like, it's happened. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen it? Like, the
Yeah,
play happens. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, the play you're involved happens. Like, you can manifest stuff. You see stuff beforehand, you think about it, and it happens. You gotta work. You know what I mean? You gotta work really hard. But everyday warriors know, like, if you wake up in the morning and you make it back at the end of the day to lay down and rest, and hopefully you got a little bit better in that day, right? The good days outweigh the bad days because life's going to try to kick your butt. Life's going to come at you hard. Life doesn't care who you are, where you from. You know what I mean? You see people getting hit and struck, and people can't buy their health. Like, you can have the most money in the world, but you can't buy your health. There are things that happen that you can't pay for. Like, you can't. They're incurable diseases, right? That you can't afford to pay for regardless of how much money you have. So it's just like perspective. Where are we at in life, and how can we just continue to grow, man? Every day is going to be. Some days won't be a war. Some days might be, man. Some days might be worse than others. But you gotta keep growing, warriors. Like the other warriors out here, you gotta keep going. And then when it gets too hard, you gotta have other people call on, like John, myself. You gotta have friends, brothers. So establish, and I'm assuming this is for the younger warriors who may be listening too. You gotta establish those friends, but you gotta keep your circle small because everyone doesn't want to see you succeed. You need people who are talking great about you when you're not in the room
there
because
you
there are
go.
going to be plenty of people talking bad about you when you're not in the room. Promise you that. That's another thing that I learned in life. Like, you have to don't care about what everyone says about you. Don't care about really. There are only a few people who I truly care what they like say or think about me. You know what I mean? Like, truly, truly care. Like, people like you, John, my friends who I grew up with, my brothers who I sweated with, my wife, my family. You know what I mean? Like, people like that. But generally out there, dude, I had some dude the other day on LinkedIn tell me that something I posted was like all BS or something. I'm just like, I don't even. There was a time where I would like interject it with those trolls. I just hit like insightful thought now. It's just like, all right, thanks, dude. Like, some dude told me my MBA wasn't worth the piece of paper it's on one time. I was just like, all right, dude. Like, all right, man, whatever. He was like, you're not Main Street. Yeah, that's my thing. For those of you who don't know, like, Main Street means Wall Street. Like, that's how I want to help people, like, bring their Wall Street knowledge down to Main Street. So you're not Main Street. I was like, man, if only you knew. I didn't even get into that, right? Like, okay, sure, I'm not. But life's
Yeah,
going to be a battle. Sometimes it's going to be a war. Win the battles, win the war. Keep fighting. That's the thing, y'all. Don't stop fighting.
there it is. There it is. Now, and those are really, really, really important topics and points that you made there because when you put yourself out there like we are, for everyone to is pretty much public scrutiny. Anyone that has a keyboard and an avatar has the ability to weigh in. And with the roles that we play and with the positions that we have, we're in intimate settings with people. Like our what we do really affects people's lives on a daily basis, man. So you not only are a financial advisor for some of these folks, and I know this firsthand, you're like a therapist, you're like a best friend, like a brother, all of those things for these people, right? So how do you stay disciplined during uncertain times yourself, right? Because everybody's coming to you for the answer, right? They're always looking to you for the answer or to try to hedge that answer, to figure out how I'm going to make sure that I'm not affected by what's about to come. How do you stay disciplined yourself? Not necessarily pertaining to, financial literacy or your finances, but during uncertain times anyway, because an entrepreneur, every day is uncertain for us, right? We don't know when we wake up today, being that everyday warrior is really going to have to kick in. But how do you stay disciplined? Because you're a dad, you're a father, you're a husband. So how do you stay disciplined in uncertain times yourself?
It's a really good question. So I feel like life has taught me perspective, right? So I've seen things in life to where like pretty much anything that's happening to me right now is okay. Okay. You know what I mean? It's like I have that perspective on life. Like shout out to my mom again. My mom told me uh when I was like 22 or 23, she was like, you shouldn't worry about stuff. I mean, some things things are important, but you shouldn't worry. Worrying doesn't fix any problems, right? So I don't worry about stuff like when it comes to I prepare for things. Like I don't know if you ever heard like athletes talk. Like I'm not worried about taking the last second shot because this is a shot I've taken 1,000 times. It's just a matter that people are watching now, right? Like I'm really good at compartmentalizing things. Like people, my oldest daughter, she started playing sports. She'll play basketball. She's playing basketball for her school, so she runs and she's playing, but she'll like look in the crowd. I'm like, stop looking in the crowd. Like what? Like I don't know. Like when we play football, we play sports. I never thought to look in the crowd because I was just like so focused on doing what I'm doing, like trying to execute what I'm doing. I don't even notice the crowd is there. I never noticed the crowd there. So it's kind of like that in business in the world now. I can still really compartmentalize things. Probably ain't great for my wife, but like I could I can compartmentalize things. I think I have really good perspective. Like so, like take for instance with the stock market. The stock market's been going down, or it went down at the beginning of last year. It went down at the beginning of this year. Last year when it went down at the beginning of the year, went to my clients. I called them. I'm going to call my clients. You're not going to call me about these markets. But we've already been talking about. We've already established this mindset. Like talked about stock market. The history is going to go up. It's going to go down. If you stand it long enough, it's going to go up and to the right. That's what history shows. I'm calling them. We're setting up meetings. When the market go down last year, everyone else is like panicking, panicking, panicking. I'm like, if you can, let's increase our 401k contributions right now. That's how you buy the dip with your 401k for people who don't know. You just increase it by like 1%. That's how you buy that dip. So you're buying more when it's down like that. And then if you do it like that, where you just buy like 1% more, you're adding 1% more, what you come to realize, so they saw the returns, because you remember last year that market it was down for like a month or two. So you got a good bit of money, but then you saw the crazy move back up higher, which is the same thing we just saw in February through when they go up, the end of March until like Thursday. So you see this moves and people are like, whoa, they see the power it actually works. They've already felt the stress, I always attune it to working out. They already felt the stress of those early lifts when they added that 1%. We don't go back and take it off. They're usually just like, you know what, I'm good. So we've increased their savings rate. We've made more money for them inside their retirement plan, and then if it's outside money, so if it's not in a retirement account, yeah, just we're gonna put more money into the market. Like people like you trust me to manage this, right? We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna explain to you why we're doing it. I can explain to you as deep as you want me to explain it to you. Because I don't want to invest something for someone that they don't understand. That's the thing people need to understand as well. Like, so anyone out here listening, don't invest in anything you don't understand, regardless of how good the returns may seem, regardless of what everyone else down the street may be doing, regardless of how legit or illegit it may be. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. If the person who's trying to get you to invest in it can't explain it clearly, you might not invest in it either, right?
Right.
Like, it's just, yeah, don't invest. That's part of the problem is people get taken in this industry all the time,
Yeah.
and it gives us a bad name, and it's just like, it's agitating.
Well, what should people look into, man, when, because like you said, there's some folks out there who, aren't, as morally driven. They're looking to make the dollar, right? They're trying to, So what would you tell someone who's looking for a financial advisor? How do I vet that? How do I know I'm choosing the right person? And then we're gonna move on to the next question because that like I said, every time you start talking, you pull something else out that I would want folks to know. You know, if I'm searching for a financial advisor, regardless of how much money I have in my pocket, how do you vet that person to make sure they're right for you?
Perfect. Yeah, so there are a couple ways you can vet 'em, like, obviously, you can look them up online. You can Google them online, see whatever they have. You gotta put your stuff, with the FINRA and SEC and the state, so it's on the ADV form. You can just go look that up, but that stuff's boring, people don't really look that up. Here are questions I think you should ask people, right? Because it's gonna tell you different things. So, one thing, the first question you could ask them is, how do you get paid? Why you ask them that? Like, how do they get paid? Because if they get paid and it's a difference in the wording. If they say a fee versus a commission, that's one thing. So if it's a commission, that usually means they're an agent for someone, right? And I'm not saying one's bad and the other's not. But if it's a commission and it's an agent, they don't have the fiduciary duty. They have a duty of care, but they don't have a fiduciary duty. So if they're getting a commission versus a fee, that's usually an agent, right? But if it's a fee, chances are they're a fiduciary. What does that mean? What's a fiduciary? People throw that stuff around all the time, right? So you have that duty of care. You have the duty to make sure that anything that I do, your best interest is ahead of mine, right? Any decision I make can't be based on my financial gain ahead of yours. Any conflicts of interest, which there will be, there's always going to be a conflict of interest somewhere inside of a giant financial plan. You just got to explain it to them so that whoever you're working with can make an informed decision. Like those are some of the things right there. Like a lot of people like working with fiduciaries for that reason, but some things you just need the agent for. Like if you just need a quick insurance policy or something like that, not whether it's an agent or a fiduciary. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but those are definitely like the two kind of questions you want to ask. So now you're establishing whether you're working with someone who has your best interest. But if you're working with the other person, they should have their best interest too, right? Ask them how do you get paid. Ask them, so for whatever they're trying to get you to invest in, ask them, how do you get out of it? What does it look like at the end? How do I get out of this at the end? Right? Like, okay, you say this is great. How do I get out of it? I know you're telling me the best case scenario. Tell me the worst case scenario. I need to know the worst case scenario. What does it look like if this thing goes to zero? Right? Tell me that. Right? Tell me that. So if this goes to zero, what does that look like? What are we doing? Never invest in anything. Another thing that I like to tell people, don't ever invest in anything in those type of accounts more than you can stand to lose completely, right? At least to start, right? If you're trying to figure something out new, so let's say you want to invest in, and this has come up with crypto. Crypto was a big thing for like 2 or 3 years. Everyone was asking about crypto. Not so much now here lately. They haven't been asking as much about Bitcoin. Always asking about Bitcoin. So I would say, okay, so if you want to invest in crypto or Bitcoin, and at the time, we couldn't even really talk about where our clients as financial advisors because it wasn't like legally regulated or anything. So we couldn't even have these conversations legally. So I would just say, if you want to invest in anything and you don't, one, you want to understand it. But here's the thing too, like mindset and psychologically with people. I can sit here with my clients. You can sit here you've seen it with people and we can build out this plan. All this stuff's going to work. Boom, 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 boom. But there's going to be some stuff that they want to spend their money on or something they're going to want to throw it away on. You call it throw away, whatever. Something they're going to invest in that they're going to do regardless. Go
Mhm.
ahead, man. All right. Like, there's no point for us to have consternation about that. Go ahead. But don't take a lot of it. Like, that's fine if you want to take a little slither of it and put it in that. I generally say if you're going to invest in something new, like if you're trying to invest in this, is once again, not financial advice. If you're trying to invest in something like some crypto or something, I would say the cost going to a nice sporting event for two with dinner included, right? So and that depends on what it is for you. So if you go to the Panthers game and you sit at the top and you're going to go eat somewhere, drive through on the way there and you're parking, whatever that costs you for you and your whoever else you went, invest that amount. If you go to the game and you like to sit in the luxury boxes and you like to spend, you know what I mean? Because this is different income levels, you know what I mean? So that's how it would impact you. Because if you're a person who sits in the luxury boxes and you spend that amount of money like you're sitting up top, you won't even think about that investment. Like you'll completely forget about it. It won't even be anything in your mind, which might be a good thing, or might be a bad thing because you might invest more in it if you haven't paid any attention to it. So you want to put enough in there to where you feel it. And then
Got it.
obviously you want to meet people. You want to be able to get in touch with people. You want people that are going to do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do.
All right. Okay. I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate that, man, because a lot of people don't know. Some folks are, as it pertains to finding a financial advisor, man, they're not confident in actually doing that. They feel like, hey, I hadn't arrived there yet. So those are really good tips on how you can vet and how you can find someone that'll might fit your budget and might fit your lifestyle a little bit better. So take those tips and run with those. But let me ask you this as well, Marcus. What type of legacy do you hope to leave, brother?
To who?
The world, brother. The world.
To the world. When you go out, you
Well,
want a
let's bring it in
documentary?
just a little bit because you're a husband, you're a father, you're a uncle. You know what I mean? So let's go there. Let's start there. Let's start with the family.
I mean, what you said earlier is what I want people to know me for, remember me for. Marcus Stern, he was him. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean he was him like I'm him, but he was himself the whole time. You know what I mean? He is who he is. Like, it's like he is who he is. Like I wanna with my family, I want them to be able to respect my life, respect what I did. I gave my son, my youngest son, my name. I want him to have a name that he can respect. Hopefully one day with this financial plan firm, I got 4 kids, so hopefully one of them might want to do this one day because they hear this stuff all day as well. There's no way they're not getting it. I take my oldest girl to school every day. So we wake up in the morning, we're listening. There's no way they're not getting it. These kids are going to have so much financial literacy. It's crazy. My oldest daughter asked me the other day, why don't we just print more dollars? I made a video about that on my YouTube channel, like as part of the prompt, because just like people ask that question too, though. Like they're adults who say, why don't we just print more dollars, right? So why don't we print more dollars? So for my family, I just want them to, and I want to equip my family. That's another thing too. Like I don't think maybe now they'll appreciate it. I probably seem hard on them, but I tell them these things. I say, like, I'm not gonna be here for you forever. Like with these, so like my oldest son had him when we were young. Like these other kids, a little bit older. Like I'm trying to tell y'all things that will stick with you for life. Some of this stuff I'm saying you won't make sense right now. But when you're older, it's gonna hit. You're gonna be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like show them life lessons. Like, so with my family, I just want them to grow up, respecting, knowing that there's much bigger things than they are. There's much bigger power than they are. Like I want them to respect people. I don't want them to ever think they're better than anyone, but I definitely don't want them to think they're worse than anyone. So I
Mhm.
want the legacy with my family just to be, I want them to be taken care of and just respect and love. I want them to feel love from me, right? Because like Stern, my nickname's Stern, but you feel the love,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm just gonna go ahead and go into the next one. But then, like for the world, I mean, this may sound crazy, but I don't know. How is the world gonna remember, right? Is it gonna be a documentary? Is it gonna be like a little line in an obituary? Like I don't know. We'll see, man. I'm just gonna I want the world to remember me as someone who helped change some things. Let me tell you something I'll do. So things I'll do, little things that I'll do that I think may not help change the world. I don't know if they help change the world, but these are things I do. One thing I did, so like Papa John's. I used to love Papa John's pizza. I still do love Papa John's. The dude who owns Papa John pizza like 8 years ago went on a rant and was saying all kind of crazy racist stuff. I stopped eating Papa John's. I didn't go around telling the world I stopped eating Papa John's. We just stopped buying Papa John's in our house, right? And I explained it to my daughter because she was the only one who was pretty much old enough to understand it. Obviously, my wife understands, but I explained it to her. And I explained to her the reason. I was like, people hoot and holler and do all these things, but your money, your economic power is where it really matters, right?
Mhm.
So the Papa John's thing, done with that. Another thing I'll do. So in this industry that I'm in right now, you're in the industry too. It looks the same, right? It doesn't look like this screen right here. You rarely see a screen like this right here in any show, any area. This becoming part of my thing too. Even like the Main Street meets Wall Street financial literacy thing. People will send me things. They'll be like, "Come to our event. Come to our conference." Right? Okay, I'll look at it, pull it up. I'll look at the speakers. Every speaker on here looks the same. There's 50 speakers on here. They all look the same. I'll send them a message. Like, I don't think I'm coming to your event, but why in this world of billions of people, how can you not find someone else? You know what I mean? And you got 50 speakers. You can't go to the 2% and put one person who looks different, right?
That
That's
part.
only 2%, right? And let someone, because you're only going to gain from listening to people who look different. Anyone who knows me knows this thing isn't about whatever you're going to make. Someone may say it's not about that. It's about being in the room. Like I said, I feel like just you and me sitting on the screen right now is very powerful. People don't
Absolutely.
realize that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want people to realize. I need people to realize, like, that's the stuff I want the world to realize. Whether they know it was me or whoever or whatever, like I'm gonna do little things that will add up to big things. And Main Street meets Wall Street. People will remember that, I think. I think they'll remember that eventually. If we keep just spreading financial literacy.
Nice. Absolutely. Well, this segment here, man, I'm gonna do move into. I have some rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask you. You can ask them, it can be as short or as long as you need them to go, right? So I'm just going to ask you a few questions here before we get ready to dial out of here. But tell me, what was the biggest financial lesson you learned the hard way?
I've learned a few though. I don't know, man. The one that sticks out the most is like as soon as I turned 18, they sent me a credit card, right? And that was back in the day when they sent it and it was active. So I just ran that thing up and it took me
Yeah,
forever to pay that credit card off. So like that's definitely a big thing. I'm sure there are other things that are, worse. But like I said, that was before I turned 23. So like I got a different perspective of life, like once I hit that age. So probably like it took a while to pay that credit card off. That $1,000 limit they gave me, Discover. Yeah, it was Discover. I'm calling them out. $1,000 limit took me forever to pay it off. Ran that thing up in less than a month, I feel like, just buying stupid stuff. Stupid stuff.
exactly. Exactly. Now I can relate to that because, our freshman year of college, we got to college, we're on college campus. And before we even finalize, we're in the, financial aid office making sure our scholarship money is landed and, room and board is taken care of and all this good stuff. And you walk out to whatever your student union is and, Discover, Visa, Master, all those people are there. Now you're 18, 19 years old. You don't
Mm,
have a source of income from anywhere and they're just giving you cards. So that's a
giving it to me.
thing. That's an absolute thing. And I believe all of us have experienced that. Now, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I've received a lot of good advice. I've received a lot of bad advice too, right? Know the real S from the BS is a good one, right? Like figuring out how to decipher it. But the best one is some of the best is the answer is always no unless you ask the question. I don't think people realize that. The answer is always no unless you ask, right? Kind of on the, you miss every shot you don't take. But then also on that same tip, which is probably why I'm not like the salesy type dude where you gotta ask people 7 or 8 times. My mom told me when I was little. Once again, she's a proud woman, I guess. You don't ask people for things more than twice. If you ask them more than twice, you're begging. Make sure
Yeah.
they heard you both times. I don't ask anyone for anything more than twice. My wife included. We done had that conversation. Like, I just can't be begging. And I'll tell my kids, like, don't ask me more than twice. Like, I heard you.
Now, what is a book that every young professional should read?
Ooh. Only one?
Just give me one, brother. Give me one. One that you would start with. How about that?
Okay, it's so cliche. People ask me that, and it's usually the same book I say, but it's either The Prince or The Art of War. I do think those books are definitely like
Art of
good to
War
read,
was one of the first books I read, as going into the professional world. Art of War, definitely. It's just sitting right here.
right? And I feel like those books are like interconnected in the fact that obviously they're not. Right, Art of War is way older than Machiavelli, but Art of War tells you how to attack whatever business, whatever war position you may be in. Like you don't fight unless you can win. You may need to retreat. But then the Prince, for those who haven't read the Prince, and people are like, oh, it's Machiavelli. That dude was dark. Like, well, I got plenty of light in my life. Well, he said some of that stuff is true. Like I read Socrates. I read Pluto. Socrates never wrote anything. But the Prince tells you like how to navigate these kingdoms once you get them, depending on how you got them. So I read the Prince when I first became a GM at Fuddruckers. I read that because I was becoming a GM depending on, it tells you like if you took this kingdom from becoming a king with your own army versus if you paid a merchant army versus if it was internal strife. You know what I mean? Like because you have to rule those things. You have to have different type of power with different type of uh kingdoms and different ways you come into power. So the Art of War, the Prince, those are pretty powerful to me. And even the crazy old book like Rich Dad Poor Dad for anyone who just wants to understand the basics of assets and liabilities, that's not a bad one either. I read that one a long time ago too. But like if you want to get deeper than that, I don't know if he's there for the deep stuff. Well, you know what is another good book I read that I would suggest. See, you said one book, I've named like four.
It's all good. Folks need to hear this.
The Soul of Black Folks for anyone who's never read it. Cause it's just so crazy by W.B. Du Bois. Anyone who's never read it, it's crazy to read that book and look and see like how close it is to 2026 as it was in 1926.
Wow. Wow. What was that called again?
Soul of Black Folks.
Soul of Black Folks. All right. Now, if you could tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
18-year-old me. That you're gonna make it, man. When I was 18, I couldn't see life past 25. Like so at 18, you gotta think like I would say plan for further than 25. Like life, you're going to make it. You're going to keep just learn, grow. What comes to you for a reason. Like I feel like I'm here right now still for a reason. Like I'm not done yet. There's still stuff to do. John, you got me on one on here today, man.
Well, this is what it's about. This thing is about you, man. And our friendship goes back decades, bro. So,
Mm-hmm.
we grew up together, right? We competed together. We watched each other evolve into men. After high school, we weren't as close, but we stayed together, connected. Our families were connected. We're friends and we've stayed friends. Our faith rise together, and the service that we provide, every day. I'm working with kids and I'm in the financial services industry. And it's important that we both lead. So we're connected in that way. What I admire most, man, is that you've taken all of your knowledge and you've turned it into a mission, one that's going to help and build a better and a stronger future for folks, not only the world, but folks that looks just like us. And for if you don't know, you don't understand, like I said, these conversations just don't happen in our houses like that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in many ways, you're teaching people how to defend themselves and their family financially, right? Because at the very end of the day, sometimes it is big bank take little bank, right? And you got to understand, and you want to make sure that you're leaving something for your family when you're not here or you're not around. Not saying that you have to be gone from this world of this earth, but leaving something for your kids. Can your children navigate this world once they become adults, right? Man, I appreciate you for being my friend. And like I said, growing up, I paid attention to all of us, everyone around us, right? And I look at everyone's personalities, and when your personality stuck out like a sore thumb, and I didn't see it like that because I came from a place where everyone was so standoffish and not as nice, right? We only spoke when spoken to. And being honest with you, like I said, it was a culture shock going into, leaving Charlotte and going into Indian Trail and being able to navigate that. You just don't understand. Well, my folks are from the deep South, from the South South, right? So you can only imagine what the conversations were like around the coffee table sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
I thank you so much, man, for your friendship. You've always been a very smart, very articulate person, right? Funny, and you continue to make those same waves, bro, to this day, man. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you your flowers. And once we get done here, I want you to make sure that you let everyone know what you're doing, where you are, how they can find you. And for those folks out there that are listening to us, if this conversation today helped you think differently about money, your legacy, your purpose, I want you to share this episode with anybody that you might care about, because financial freedom to us isn't just about showing off. It's not about balling out of control. It's about creating options, reducing the stress in your household, protecting the people that you love. Now, we always talk about training your body, sharpening your mind, protecting your future. That's all raveled into financial freedom and being an everyday warrior. And I want everyone out there to remember that the strongest warriors are not the ones who are the ones who actually prepare for every day, like Marcus said. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that he's prepared and in a position to where he can answer those questions and navigate those waters for his family, man. So, Marcus, I appreciate you. I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, all of your social media stuff, and we'll go ahead and close it up like that, brother.
Okay, okay, okay. Can I ask you a question first?
Yeah, absolutely.
You running me off. You got me start talking, man, on a good subject. So and then I'll come back. You can give me back that question. So like you said, John. So these aren't conversations we have at our table, right? But you've been in financial services for a long time. How did you get there?
Well, for me, getting into financial services was something that I did right out of college, man. So when I graduated, my senior year, actually, I forfeited my senior year of football to start into the industry, right? So I went to work for Wachovia at the time, but my degree was in information systems engineering, so I was working help desk and tech and things like that. I didn't really jump into like the brokerage side and until after I got my master's. So once I got my MBA, and I said, hey, I wanted to look into a different way of actually, making money, a different way of working with folks and financial literacy myself. Because initially, when I went into college, it was about banking and financing, right? It wasn't about the tech side of things. And it was right after I got my master's degree that I said, hey, I want to actually get into a field that I can do every day that I love, that, I don't wake up dreading doing. And this is where I landed. But it's more so the leadership of people, right? Not necessarily a specific niche like being a financial advisor, because in my career, what I've done is actually worked in mergers and acquisitions. So what I did with advisors is absolutely, I would go in for advisors who are looking for a new home, and I would transition them into our company, right? And being able to do that, I was able to spend a lot of time intimately with advisors. I would go to their offices and I would actually walk them through the processes of transitioning their books of business from one location to the next. So I had an opportunity to meet these clients, listening to these conversations, and I'm talking about all the conversations, all of them. I'm talking about from the happiest ones to, those ones jerkers, you know what I mean? Where I've had advisors walk out and just feel like their lives were over, right? And you had to be
The
so.
advisor? The advisor walked out
Oh, yeah, yeah,
feeling
yeah,
their
yeah.
life was over?
Absolutely, brother. I done been listen, so where you are for your clients, I had to be for the advisor.
Goodness.
So, yeah, man, and but the thing about it is I love it because I love making people better, and I love leaving things better when I leave them than they were when I got them, right? So when I see people that need help or are struggling in a certain area, I attach to it. I latch myself to it because I want it to be better. I don't care who you are, where you from. That's my thing. That's what I love to do, just making people better in general, man. So it me going into financial services was absolutely like my plan B, because I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life. And now I'm in a position to where I'm doing a little bit of both as a consultant and as now a product owner. So I'm able to go in and make these products that people need a whole lot better for when you're ready to use them as an advisor, right? More efficient, move smoothly, you know what I'm saying? Integrate them to where they actually help you do your job a little better. But yeah, man. So for me, getting into financial services was, I mean, it was just for me a plan. I planned it out and I said this is where I was going to be. Once I got there, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I just went with what I gravitated to naturally. So it wasn't me being an advisor and giving people advice on stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurance, and things like that. It was more so like being that coach for that advisor who says, "Hey, I think I'm about to give it up," right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Nah, this is where you can make it better, or this is how you can be better," right? So that's where I am, man.
Yeah, because most of it that's good stuff, man. Most advisors wash out in the first 2 or 3 years. If you can make it
You're
past,
right.
those first well, I think someone said, like, if you can make it through those first 4 years, man, you can live different for the rest of the years, but, and one more question, I'm sorry, man, it's your show, but I don't think I asked you, what does being a everyday warrior mean to you, man?
Being an everyday warrior to me means being present and showing up no matter the circumstances. It's about your attitude. It's about how you carry yourself, especially when no one else, when you don't think anybody's watching, right? That's an everyday warrior. Someone who, like I said, like myself, I love to make people and things better than they were before I was introduced to it, right? So an everyday warrior to me is not the NBA basketball player, not the NFL football player, not the, high level sports and news anchor, the people who get all the shine. The everyday warriors to me are the doctors, the lawyers, the plumbers, those folks who are out here making it happen on a daily basis when they don't know what's on the other end of the day, right? So that's an everyday warrior to me, man, and making sure that you keep your head high. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you can be an everyday warrior.
You gotta put that for your trailer for this show, that's pretty good. Wow, yeah, that's good. You're gonna have to clip that one up. That was good, John, that was good. Let me tell people where they can find me, that was good. I'll be on here talking to you all night, man. See, I'll done flipped it over and start interviewing you. They want they want to follow me. I'm on LinkedIn, Marcus Sturdivant Sr. So you gotta put the SR at the end. LinkedIn, that's like my place really. I don't do Facebook, nothing against Facebook. It's just that's not really the vibe. I don't like I said, with the trolls and people and like I don't have time for that energy. Like that's not really where I put my energy. Cause I am a business owner. So the ABC Squared, that's my RIA plan firm where we do financial planning. So I do that and that comes first priority outside my family and my faith, is my business, taking care of my clients, making sure their lives are, like you said, they're coached. The investments, knock on wood, I don't even particularly worry about the investments because I know the investments are going to be fine because of my mindset, like how those are going to be good. I'm dug into the investments. It's way more than just investments. You know, like it's mindset. Tell your story of, you're talking about emotions and you've seen the advisors. I've had several times where clients and even a prospect, they start crying like on the call. That's powerful, man. Like when you're having these conversations with people and they start crying, like it takes you back. Once again, just like I said earlier, I sit back and then I let them share with me, So it's powerful. I really want to help people with their financial literacy, with their if they need financial planning or investments or any of that other stuff, they can reach out to me as well. I have a YouTube channel, so Marcus Sturdivant Sr. is a YouTube channel. I actually have a website, Marcus Sturdivant Sr. website. So it's a lot of Marcus Sturdivant Sr. stuff in there. I started the Wall Street South Journal newsletter in February. That's up to like 1,300 subscribers. And
Nice.
and then in the media, like I've been quoted in the media, man, a couple hundred times, probably 100, 200 times. So you can find me if you need me. They can find me.
My man. So if you're looking for a great financial advisor, I'm talking about an exceptional financial advisor. We need to find Marcus Sturdivant Sr. We can do that on LinkedIn. We can do that on YouTube. We can get to, what is that, ABC Squared? There it is, right there. Make sure you reach out to Marcus. Marcus, man, I appreciate you, brother. I'm going to give you a shout a little bit after this call anyway. But I love you, man. Be good, and I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, man. We'll have to do this again. It was good.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
I'm trying to yacht division, stroke was fresco. Full armor suit, it was the reason. Blessings keep streaming, I'm fresher than Ephesians.
Give me my roses while I'm here. Don't wait till I up and disappear, oh no. Ahead of my time and it's clear. You still ain't noticed the dime in the gym, oh no. I put my heart in it, better know that. The passion I have in every moment. This ain't for sure, y'all. I get my all to the